Good to see you. Hope you're doing okay. Had some interesting OPEC plus headlines and a nice little oil trade just this morning. It's a fresh week, new start. So let's get ready. So the markets are leaning risk off as we start the week. We've had Donald Trump saying he's going to increase tariff and aluminium tariffs from 25 to 50% on June the 4th. That's Wednesday this week. We also had a bit of an acceleration in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, with Ukraine making some deep strikes into Russian territory. I think that just ups the risk ante. We've also had Trump hit out at China at the end of last week, saying that China's violated its trade agreement with the US. If you remember that Trump sort of saying he took pity on China because he didn't want to crush the economy. And then China has sort of repaid his kindness, as he puts it, with violating the trade agreement. That gave us some risk-off trading on Friday, and you can just see, we saw this quite choppy price action on Friday, up, down, up, down. And now where we are in terms of the TPO is we've tested this value area low here. And we're finding some support, and we've now moved up this value area high, and we've got the daily pivot point. Now, I was chatting with Najem earlier, and he was sort of saying, is it a clear sell sort of day? The tricky thing about a day like today, the difficulty with a day like today is you can see the sentiment going either way. Remember, Trump's got a reputation as kind of on Wall Street now as a taco man or chicken man, that he chickens out of tariffs. So threatens these big tariffs, then chickens out. So if you notice the price action here in US equity markets, right? Hammer reversal bars here, consolidation here, hammer reversal bar on the NASDAQ. So your markets aren't certainly, convinced that there's definitely more selling coming in. But that being said, markets are, VIX has pushed up about that 19 region. Equity markets pressure to the downside. We're seeing a little bit of sell the US theme come in, so a bit of selling US bonds. Gold is moving higher, albeit capped a little bit by that weekly resistance area that's just sat up there at the 3,400 region. You can see silver, copper higher despite the risk off tone, no particular reason for that. WTI higher on relief that OPEC plus, when they met over the weekend, they weren't as negative in terms of increasing production as markets were expecting. So 411,000 barrels per day were expected. OPEC plus did that. There was rumours going into the meeting, if you remember last week, that they're going to actually increase production more. There was some pushback at the meeting, and the end of it said we can always pause or retract any production increases if we want to. That's seen as positive for oil. That's why oil is sort of roaring higher. It's sort of obvious. We took a little trade earlier. You can see you've got another one here with sellers being trapped there. Let's have a look at that. If there's anything there on the tick chart. Tick chart not really showing anything. 5.8. Oh, hang on. It would help if I'm looking at the right contract. You can see, sort of cumulative delta continuing to push lower. Sellers are sort of pushing into this, and the on balance volume is sort of flat. So I'm gonna leave that now for buying. Yeah, it's kind of like you can just see it's flat anyway. So I'll take a look at that. But you can see the way that oil's been, ripping higher, and took a. Let's just see if there's. You can just see that was where I took the order. As buyers here, trapped the sellers, breaking out above the highs, and then just trailed the stop and just taken out as the stop was trailed. Okay, see, that was a nice little kind of move higher, and a nice way of getting into a trending market. We're also looking at Babcock for any stock traders worth looking at. It's here it is. This is a stock that's a defence stock in the UK, in charge of monitoring and managing the UK submarine fleet, and Keir Starmer has just announced billions of dollars of investment in the UK defence spending infrastructure, including 12 new submarines. So Babcock will directly benefit from that. And you can see Surge, nice candidate for a flag breakout, push higher, a little bit of a consolidation, pulling back, break about above there on volume. You'd expect that to break higher. Let's just see if we've got a nice volume. So you can, when you use volume studies in conjunction with technical studies, you know, the breakout's often confirmed by volume. Okay, so if you have a breakout on volume, then you could look at that going high. Just for any stock traders out there, just worth mentioning. For us, we'll take a look at the delta in a second. A couple of things to note. We've got ISM data coming up at 3. Watch out for that. ISM can move markets. If we see it coming in below markets minimum expectations, 48.0 or lower, right? Look for euro dollar upside, dollar yen selling. We got Powell also speaking at 6 o'clock. So, and Logan at 3:15. I've got a CNBC interview at 3:15 today, so I'll have to drop off for that. But apart from that, we're just looking to see where the market takes us for today. If you look at the hourly delta, you can see from the overnight session, we have had delta moving positive, and you've got buyers trapping those sellers here. So buyers are trying to move higher, but they're only able to take it as far as the developing value area. So we're in a sort of resistance there at the 5,900. On the 15-minute chart, you can see you've got big resistance overhead up at that 5,910, and we're just pulling back from the 5,900. But this is a nice support area, the break above that value area from the 26th of May. So if we can hold above this area, right, that does look positive for potentially more upside. Definitely worth looking at. And you can see we're in this sort of support region here, and we'll just sort of see how things develop from here. Big support area. The buyers are still here, 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 and here, and buyers still very much in play. Sellers, they were trapped here. So it will be interesting to see if we get the sellers trapped again, move above that first standard deviation, and that could be a nice trigger for upside up to that 5,908. Yeah, IB you can consider that, Brian. Or there's like you can also use fractional shares depending on what country you're in. Robinhood, trading 212. If you want to trade shares fractionally, that could be a good way of just getting involved. I think HYCM they did mainly US equities. You can trade it by CFDs, or you can trade the underlying asset. So depending on how, if it's got a dividend, if you want the dividend and you're holding it, then you want to trade it through a traditional broker and actually have the underlying asset. And the beauty of like some of those fractional share companies is you'll still get the dividend even if you've got a fraction of a share. Oh, really? Right, Silverfly, well, I am interested because I'm long silver, so I want to check that out. Oh yeah, lovely. Very nice. Expecting silver to go as well, with that gold silver ratio. That's just a buy signal for me. As soon as it hit 100, it's just buy the thing. You see that you dip, that huge divergence, great dip buying opportunity. Let's just have a look if there's any decent. Yeah, look at that. That's trying to push out. There's that symmetrical triangle pattern you were looking at as well, Najam. Look at that. Nice clean break. Let's get rid of, sorry folks, it's a bit messy. Let's just try and tidy that lot up. Yeah, so you had that breakout, pullback, and away it went. Very nice. So in terms of major areas to look at, The key areas going into the open, obviously holding above this 5890 region and the daily VWAP is important. Break below there, and we could look for some selling. So looking at the 5890 and dropping to the 5884, that wouldn't be unreasonable. On the hourly chart, we can see that we're up at that developed value area. So I'll pull back to the 5881. So any drop down to this kind of region here would be very suitable for buying. So happy to buy from here, happy to buy from there, also happy to sell from the 5890. Looking at the sort of structure of it, not a bad seller. We've got the pivot point up here. So if we break down through here, we can consider selling, but then looking at buying again at the 5880. And if you get even further down to the 5860, the S1, that could be a decent buy area. Breakout and pull back above that area would be ideal. So if we just sort of can push above these areas here, and if we start to see cumulative delta building on the 5-minute chart, and like really liking, we're going to push higher. And if I see some sellers here getting trapped, and then I also see the cumulative delta moving up, on balance volume moving up, then I'll use that as something to go long. Otherwise, I'll just see how things develop as we go in through the session. All right, 30 seconds to the open. We've got to be careful because we've got that pivot point just capping value area high above, so we want to still go up and away. So we've got to be careful here. So ideally, we want those sellers taken out as well. So we're going to go, if we can take those sellers out as well, that gives us a good indication. It's just those sellers, then we need a bit more confirmation. Let's have a look. Okay, so it's just those sellers that wait.
46 spot 1 revised from the initial 45 spot 3.
Cumulative delta dipping a little bit. Point of control up there. Some sellers trapped there. So I'm happy to go for a quick long there, just with those buyers trapping those sellers. But let's got to be careful. Pivot point holding. Right. Can we move it to break even? So move it to break even underneath that pivot point. Buyers. This could always reverse, you see, but we'll just see how we do. Get out of break even. The risk with this is that it just collapses back into that area. So it's all right. We'll wait for something. That's not unreasonable for another little buy. Just see if you can get something here. Buyers trapping those sellers up there. Get a little push. All right, there they come. Okay, just trailing this now. Let's see what we can get. Oh, we've got another long there. Just a quick one. Those buyers trapping those sellers here. Let's see if we get anything. Here we go. That's nice. She's still going up there. Let's see how far we can trail it. Oh, that's nice. I'm going to take that off. A couple of positions just up at those highs. Leave it at that. All right, she's still trying to fly. Maybe one more go at this. Let's have a look. Have another go. Buyers trapping those sellers. Probably quite stretched, really. So I think I'm going to close that. I'm pushing my luck up here. Look how extended we are above that second standard deviation. So just got to calm myself down. Nice start to the day and then just accept it. Quick recap, the start of the session was we were two ways. Sentiment was quite negative, but we were willing to go either way depending on what happened.
Trade news according to Financial Times.
And to start this session, we had this threatening to push up again out of this value area high on the TPO. And that was a couple of trades we took very nicely to start the session. What we're looking for here on the tick chart, we got it confirmed on the 1 minute and 5 minute. Took it on the tick chart, on balance volume moving higher, cumulative delta moving higher, entered long, first position out of break even, then had another go as we pushed above the point of control, trapped sellers, and then trapped sellers again on the way up, on balance volume, cumulative delta moving up, and then just trailed and took stop off. Had tried a final position up there, then realized, hang on, look how stretched I am. I'm just getting too cocky here. So just close that out at break even. Then tried some other little shorts as we were moving down, and tried some selling shorts there, working nicely as we just went down with the momentum. Then tried to add to shorts, ended up taking them off for a loss, and then switched to longs as we found a bit of a bottom. And that was really it for the day on that account, and just switched to this account and took a couple of longs here as we moved. First of all, tried a short, exited, and then took a couple of longs and just called it a day there. All right, folks, take care and look forward to seeing you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, guys.